Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Air. This movie is directed by Ben Affleck, who previously did The Town and Argo. This movie stars Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, Ben Affleck, and Viola Davis. The plot of this movie is the year is 1984, and shoe line companies Adidas, Converse, and Nike are all competing to sign the right celebrity, the right athlete, the right basketball star to endorse their line and sell millions of shoes. And it's when Sonny Vaccaro, played by Matt Damon, has a gut feeling. He's got an instinct to sign the one man, the one guy that will change not only their company, but also sports forever. That man was Michael Jordan. When the trailer for this movie first came out, my thoughts going in were that this movie was going to be like The Big Short, the movie by Adam McKay with Christian Bale and Steve Carell, and Ford v Ferrari, where it was going to tell a story, but it was going to be entertaining and almost like a documentary, where it would explain who characters were, what their role was, their job title, and certain locations at times. And with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck attached to this, I also knew this was going to be good. The writing was going to work, and the directing was going to be something special. And having seen the movie, I can honestly say this was a pleasant surprise. Let me start with the acting in this movie. The acting from everyone involved with this film was really good. Matt Damon is really good at playing the guy that you feel sorry for, that is always trying to do better, is always trying to go after his goal and determined to, do the right thing, but also do what he knows is best. And his character of Sonny does just that. He doesn't stop. He risks everything to make this one thing happen. And him trying to convince other people to do so is also just a really charming aspect of this movie. Jason Bateman is also in the film, and this was a nice change for him because he's not trying to be funny at all in this movie. He cracks a few jokes, but he's not trying to be a comedian. He's a real guy, and that's one thing that I would say about Ben Affleck's directing is all of his movies, Gone Baby Gone, The Town, Argo, Live by Night, all the characters involved seem like real people. Seems like a real world situation, and the same thing here. Ben Affleck as Phil Knight, he's very much like a Mr. Cheezel type character from Grandma's Boy, where he's all into, Buddhism and meditating and stuff. And so some of his things that he say are supposed to be inspirational, but it's okay because those lines and stuff, they're few and far between. For the most part, he's a guy that's the CEO of Nike who's trying to pinch every penny and trying to do everything right by their rules, their standards, but also he's humanistic as well. His dialogue with Matt Damon back and forth at sometimes is really good, and Ben Affleck does a great job. Viola Davis as Michael Jordan's mother, really good. She never gives a bad performance. And here, it was nice to see her not as a main character, but a supporting role. But that doesn't take away from her acting ability because she's also great. There's a couple other characters in this movie. There's a guy named I think his name was Philip. He's a guy that's a creator of the shoes for Nike. Standout performance for sure. But also there's a lawyer named David who has a very funny encounter with Matt Damon where he loses his temper and he starts screaming at Matt Damon over the phone, and he starts saying some crude things, but it's one of the comedic highlights of the film for sure. Chris Tucker is also in this movie, and he gives probably one of the best performances just because he's really funny. And it makes you actually miss Chris Tucker because ever since Silver Linings Playbook, he kind of like disappeared. So it was nice to see him pop back up in this movie. Also, Marlon Wayans is also in the film. He has only one scene, but it's a scene that is very important to the character of Sonny Vaccaro. It's a good motivational scene, and it's if it's true, it's pretty eye-opening. Also, this movie, like I said before, it feels like a biography, but it also is like a documentary because it shows you things and reveals things that are almost too true to believe, including one line. I'm not sure if it's true, but if it is, it's fascinating. They tell you the origins of the slogan of Nike, of "Just Do It," and the origins of that were pretty like wow, that's why that's the slogan? It's interesting. So the only downside I have with this movie is that there are a couple scenes involving Chris Tucker's character where Matt Damon will be talking to Chris Tucker and the camera will be cutting off a good chunk of the character's head. I don't know if the aspect ratio of the theater I was in wasn't adjusted right, but it just seemed like some of the shots weren't all in focus. It was some cutting part of it off, and it was weird and a little jarring. So, because this movie was a feel-good film, this movie was a good time, but also told a true and fascinating story, it left me smiling after walking out of the theater. I'm going to give Air an A-. Aside from the editing choices, the acting was really good, the music was very 1980s, the vibe of the whole movie was 80s, but also it was one of those, hey, this person has a goal, has a dream, has an instinct, and is determined to fulfill that goal, and it makes you feel good, and definitely worth seeing. So, till next time, guys, see ya.